the most important factor for testosterone, which is the key that unlocks all of your success. This factor is not actually known by many men, or it has been undermined, undervalued, underestimated how powerful this factor can be, and it's detrimental to our success. So let's get into it. This is where most people almost get it right, but actually went on a tangent. So most of the men these days who wants to increase their testosterone, as you can see on the internet, they focus on getting the right nutrition, right? Eating the right type of diets, or changing lifestyles, getting enough sleep. All of this are good, but they missed one important thing. That thing is the root cause of the factors that I just told you, right? It's not that these factors like diet, nutrition, lifestyles is not important, but there's a far more important factor that people are missing out, which is discipline, right? So you might just know that discipline is very important, and you might know that discipline is very it's a prominent figure in our time and age of self-improvement. People who wants to improve themselves need discipline. It's the base, it's the seed of this plant that we want to grow. Discipline is the key, and it has been used by many many great men of ages. And look at all of these men of the the old times. They have far greater health, both mental and both physical health, compared to men these days. And if you're watching this video, I promise you, you are not the 90% of the people. 90% of the people don't even care about improving their mental health. They don't even care about improving their physical health. They just want to live life. They just want to have fun. And God has given us free will. So that's up to them. But you want to improve your life, and you want to live a more fulfilled, purposeful life. And this discipline is the key that opens everything, right? And in a recent study, it goes on to shows that people in the 60s, 1960s, our grandfathers, they have higher testosterone in their late years, late ages compared to us teenagers. So you can see the gap. It's horrendous how things have gone so wrong throughout the time, right? And people might ask, why is that cause? Why is the cause of the testosterone like decline in these ages? And you know, is it the BPA? Is it the increased consumption of porn, fast food, seed oils, or microplastics? Yeah, they are included in the factor, but there's a far deeper problem that stems deep within each individual that is actually causing this decline. And that is being undisciplined. That is being weak minded and instant gratification orientated mindset. Instant gratification seeking mindset that destroys us. And I'm not going to be this master of discipline because I am not. I am still a student. I'm still someone who is climbing the mountain, and I'm just sharing you guys as a source of motivation, confirmation to do what you're doing, and maybe embark a new insight that you might not think of, right? But because of these undisciplined traits that we have, it opens the door towards many, many vices and many sins, which sets us up for failure. Let's say you are a guy who is serious about fitness, you want to become jacked, you want to become strong, want to improve your physical strength and your looks. And then you take the fitness advice from the internet saying all calories are the same, you know, you can eat Pop Tarts and still make muscles or still cut weight or things like that. But if you deep down look at it, it's just giving you more temptations. It's just opening you more temptations to be more undisciplined. Because think of it, it's not natural of these things that you get. And these things of this world like fast food, you know, porn, what's the next one? Social media, all of these things, they're they're not as up to our face as other vices, but they open doors for destruction. They open doors for being undisciplined, and these undisciplined acts stacked up throughout time is what happens with this curve. People become more welcomed towards doing these bad vices, being more undisciplined. People become more welcome to be undisciplined. And what happened is the more undisciplined we become, the more the more it declined, the more our testosterone declined, which means our health also declined. So I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. So I also was and still is a little weakling, like the majority, and I did not know anything about it. Right now, I'm still a student of discipline. I'm not a master yet. There's so much greater people who have deeper insights more than me. But back in the day, I was really bad. I did not know anything about discipline. I did not know anything. I was instant gratification orientated myself. I did the things that made me feel better right now, and I did not look for the future me. And although you can say that these experiences give me some knowledge, but it's better to get knowledge from books than to risk my own life with it. But I risked my life with it. But then I discovered working out, right? It gave me a sense of purpose, a passion, but that grew into a long lasting desire. My discovery of working out and resistance training is the stem for the self improvement. You know, it branches out. At first, it was just working out. I love getting the confidence. I love getting the body. But then it become training. It become training for a specific goal. The first from point A of discovering and to point B of training, the level of discipline increased significantly and progressively so. And as Marcus Aurelius once said, we should discipline ourselves in small things, and from these things, we should progress for greater value. And that is what working out has done for me. It progressed me slowly towards training for a purpose. And for me, that purpose is to be physically incapable and physically capable of fighting and defending myself and my loved ones, right? But for me to say that this journey is rainbows and sunshines all the time, you will be definitely wrong because I have so much pitfalls, and I'm even having pitfalls right now. I'm in a season where I am constantly learning. Right, I'm in a season where I'm constantly learning these new things, and like it, I fail miserably because of these things. Right, so it isn't all rainbows and sunshines. But let's go on to why this mindset is super important. This mindset stems something that is greater than our feelings, not just for sheer greed or a shallow praise from the external world, but discipline is true and is a deep passion. And if you don't have a true or deep passion, you cannot say you're fully disciplined yet. And I myself is not fully disciplined yet, but I can confidently say that 2 years ago, compared to 2 years ago, right now I am more disciplined because I have this true desire and passion. This passion to share my knowledge, to be relatable to someone, to inspire to someone. And hence, I am a bit more, tiny bit more disciplined than I used to be. And being disciplined is has the direct proportional relationship to men's well-being. The more disciplined we are, the more we're likely to become stress-free because we have less to think about it. When we're disciplined, we're being in a routine. We're focusing on pretty much everything that doesn't really need extra thinking. You're following a scheme, you're following a schedule, a routine that is logically and systematically planned for success. So if you have less to think, you're going to have less stress. And we all know that less stress means less cortisol. Less cortisol means we have more testosterone, right? And to really nail this point, discipline is not, it is, it's not just a feeling. It's not just a motivation that comes and go, but it's a desire of achieving something that is planned precisely by logic and analysis, right? Discipline is something that we plan logically, not something that we do because we saw an impulsive factor, impulsive motivation from outside. Let's say if you just saw an edit on YouTube and now you want to become the next fighter, that's not motivation. That's not discipline. That is a motivation. That's a feeling, right? If you have it, if you have an external impulse that causes you to do the action, that's a motivation. And motivation itself is not inherently wrong, but you have to be able to channel that very well to become a discipline. And once you are able to channel that, it basically means you're changing the desire. You're turning that motivation and you're engulfing with logic and analysis and structuring a plan that you can follow every single day, that you can make it for success. That is prone, that is like planned for success, right? Let's just see two real life examples, right? I know this is a very polarizing examples that I give. One on the other hand, that is more of a hardcore masculine macho man of David Goggins. You know him. He broke world record of doing pull-ups, running marathons. And we have monks, Christian monks, who are fully devoted to devotion and worship towards God. But both of these men have one thing in common: they're disciplined. And because they're disciplined, their lives are significantly better than 90% of the rest. Do you ever see a do you ever see a disciplined person go crazy or go insane? Do you ever see a monk that go crazy or go insane? Most likely 80%, 80 to 90% of the time they're not. Even if they have seasons or episodes of confusion and frustrations, they will go back to their routine again because they know that the desire that comes within their heart is far greater than whatever is holding or whatever is pressuring from the outside, right? And once that inner desire is powerful, you don't really care anymore. You might break down, you might be tired because you're a human. You're a biologically functioning species. You will get tired. You can express that. But a disciplined person will shook it off and go back. The same thing with monks. You see these monks living in secluded places, cutting out all of the connections of the world and fully devoting to God. And yes, they do get tempted as well, but their discipline, their unwavering discipline keeps them on track. But the other thing is both of these two disciplined individuals types, these two different individuals, they still have the logical planning as well. They still have a clear and a concise, no, sorry, clear and a precise goal that they want to achieve with careful analysis, because they're not just a, a feather in the wind that's going around with each emotion. No, they know what they have to do and they do it. And that is what gives them fulfillment as well. So let's go on to how that mindset actually helps us. Let's dig deeper into that. So discipline helps build calluses in our brain. But how does that happen? Well, theory goes that the longer we practice the discipline, the longer we practice the skill, it's not only strengthens our mentality, but it actually becomes a habit. There's even a study, I can't find it, but I'll put it up in the screen. But there's a study that found that if you continually do a action for more than 2 weeks, it becomes a habit, and it becomes easier for us to get through like these hard times. Like you become m- more prone to easily absorb and learn new skills, because your brain already knows that after a certain amount of time you will get used to it, right? And as we become more disciplined in our acts, not only it gives us results, but it gives a neurological benefit, because discipline is not only just about the mindset or this mysterious thing that floats around the air. No, it's a function that your brain does. And when your brain does that, it also gives you neurological benefits that actually helps you in your day-to-day life, that helps you to increase your standard of living. How does it increase? Because you can now learn more new skills, more points of view. You're now able to absorb more because of discipline, because it trains your brain. So this study, I don't know if you can read it very carefully, or sorry, very clearly, but in the study, basically two groups were divided, and one group were given the method of self-restraint and self-control, and the group that did more self-restraint and self-control practices are able to generate a motivation. They're able to generate a stronger interest that was previously unwilling to do before they were actually given the method. So we can see that by being more disciplined, by sticking to our habits, we can literally force our brains to be motivated. We can click our hands and let the motivation come through because we're more disciplined. And this autonomous motivation it's has a inverse relation with procrastination, because the more motivation we have to do something, you will be more pumped up to actually take the action, and you will become less procrastinating. You will think less, right? You can literally see the diagram, right? So if you have a sense of self-discipline, you have autonomous motivation, which decreases procrastination, and these two factors decreases procrastination. And when we know that when we procrastinate less, we become more functioning, better functioning humans, right? So although these benefits are very appealing to us, it isn't as simple in reality, because we have been primed for comfort and certainty. Our human survival wants comfort. Our human survival wants something that's cozy. And demanding and going against that grain, it's actually hard, right? For example, you might know this feeling of wanting to stay at home after a long day, or wanting to take a quote unquote rest day off the gym. when you are quote unquote drained, but in actuality, your body can still handle the stress, and you never know until you step a foot in the gym. Right? These are the things that your brain can trick you, and I have experienced it myself as well. Because during my GCSEs years, I was tired. I was drained like a sponge that is left out in the sun. I'm dried out, basically. But I still did my exercise routines. And there's a way to that. There's a way to get through these hard things, even though our brain play tricks on us. So the idea is there's this big four C's. So the four C's are confirm, conduct, consistent, and calculate. These four factors are the basis, are the holy grail that will unlock your discipline. The first thing is you got to confirm your mind, confirm your thought, confirm your identity. Then you got to conduct the action, and you got to make that action consistent, and you got to calculate carefully. You have to learn because as humans we're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes so many times, but what we deal with the mistakes is something that gives a different result. How we deal with it, it's more important than actually not making the mistake. In fact, I would say making a mistake is amazing if you can actually deal with it better, right? So the first thing is you gotta brainwash yourself, and I use this word brainwash because let's be honest, we have been brainwashed by this whole modern media of seeking comfort for the last 50, 60 years. Now you have to re-brainwash yourself to believe the hard things in life are the things that produce the most amount of benefits. The media might say, oh, take a rest, you should chill, but no, go against the grain. Actually step a foot in the gym, actually push harder, try to push the limit, push it, because I'm for sure 99% that pushing a little bit further is better than not pushing at all. And every time you complete a hard task, give even if the hard task is a short amount of time. Let's say even if you do 10 push-ups, mark it as a job done for the day. Because sometimes you're gonna have a bad day because we know in reality there's so many things in life that's gonna hold you back. But you still want to reward your brain. You still want to have the identity that you still do the hard thing even though you didn't feel like it. You want to have that identity. So that's why even if you do a certain hard thing, you want to acknowledge it. You want your brain to acknowledge that you are doing the hard thing even though you don't feel like it. You want to dial that into your brain. That's why even if it's 10 push-ups, just write yourself down that I did a hard workout today. And who knows, after the 10 push-ups, you might feel better and you might want to do make more 10 push-ups. The next second, you might be doing a whole workout. Like, so you have to, you have to acknowledge the small hard actions that you do. But the important thing is you must do it though. Don't, do not skip that part of actually starting because starting is more important. And the other thing is focusing on consistency. We have to be consistent every single day, and we have to ignore the quality of work. There is a quote that floats around in the last 30 years that quality over quantity, but I say screw that. Quantity over quality. Because we humans, we are prone for evidence. We're prone for numbers. We love numbers as humans. And the more we see that we have done a certain action for X amount of days, we'll think to ourselves that, okay, I've been doing this for 10 days. I think I can do 10 more days because past 10 days doesn't feel really bad. And especially if you implement the two steps that I have mentioned above, it's going to be like a cruise for you. And you're more likely to stick towards the certain action that you want to do. So consistency is important. Even if the quality of work is not the best, you still want to get it done. And the beauty of it is that when you don't really emphasize the quality, it is more humane to us because we humans are more likely to make mistakes. And from mistakes we learn and we grow from our mistakes. So that's why be consistent. And even though if you mess up, even if you have a shitty workout, just write down that I've done a hard workout for the day. Write that down. And the last thing, and I believe that this tip is very important, is be mindful of the things you do, right? Because you also don't want to waste your time, your precious time doing useless stuff, because time is the most valuable asset to us, right? Although let's say you are planning to do a workout, but then you do a progression that is way harder than you could do and you end up injuring yourself, now you're not able to even be consistent, though you have the desire to it, right? So you have to be mindful, and that's where I was stressing before, that logic and analysis of the plan is super important. You have to precisely understand what you want, realistically identify and understand what you want, so that you milk the best results out of your consistency. But but if I kind of make you confused with all of the jargon, just remember these four things: confirm your identity that you are a hardworking person, conduct the action itself, try to be consistent as much as you can, and calculate your next move, right? So confirm, conduct, consistent, and calculate. And these four is the recipe for success. So this is going to be the end. Please forgive me for all of the mistakes I might have made. And one last quote to end it off is: do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Yo.